Okay, this week in landscaping, we're going to start first talking about weather, where we usually see weather throughout the year in rainfall. That's what this first graph is. Then we're going to talk about what happened a little bit over the last 7 days and what's going to happen in the next 7 days in rainfall. Then we're going to talk about some plants and stuff. Okay, so this graph right here, you can see on the left, rainfall in inches. On the uh, x-axis is the months. The green one is the average. The blue one is this year to date, and the pink one is last year. Last year we had a big rain year. So this year you can see we're pretty much on average in January and February. March we are a bit above average, which is great. The real story though is April we are well below average. In order to get to average, you have to get it to about 2.5 inches. We're still less than half an inch. Now we will catch up quite a bit this week, but it's not looking like it's going to be super heavy rain this week. We're just going to get some throughout the week. We're just going to get us closer. We'll see. I would love to see us get up closer to that 2 inch range, and because that would be really good for the landscape. We may, I often forget that May and June are the two best rain months, besides October, I guess, of the year. Um, if someone bet me that October was averaged higher than April, I would lose that bet. Um, But just remember, we have big rain months ahead of us, and that will be really good for the landscape, at least if we're going to hit averages throughout the year. So I thought this was interesting. Did this research a little bit this morning. This is last week's rain. Now I'm going to show you where we're at. We're in Austin right here. This is the lower Colorado River Basin, meaning all of the area that feeds down through the rivers that go from east or excuse me, west of Austin through town and Town Lake. Lake Austin, going up to Lake Travis, LBJ, uh, Ames Lake. You can see all these different things. I was spending time this weekend on the Lana River. So out west, we actually got more rain than in Austin. Again, we didn't get that much in Austin over the last week. Little bits here and there. There's of course, some areas that got a little bit more. But as you go farther west, there was a lot of rain, which is really good for Austin because this is the area that feeds into our lakes that are really important for our water restrictions and etc. So this is the last week. When it comes to the coming week, I was trying to get an image for what's going to happen, and I looked at 4 different apps and got completely different information on when and how much it was going to rain. I had one app say that the highest chance was Tuesday, and then another app say that there was no chance on Tuesday. So I don't know. But what we can know is that there is a high probability of rain each day, both Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. I think decreasing on Friday, but we're bound to get some rain here, and it will get more apparent as we get closer. There's some joke here about weathermen not having to do much of their job because they can just be inaccurate and we all give them a job anyway. Here we are. That's a joke. Okay, let's get some plants. This right here, I love this plant. It's one of my favorites. This is called star jasmine because as you can see, this looks like a star. See how it's kind of twirly star? Really pretty. They smell good. They have these bright green leaves. Um, these are vines. They climb. This one's climbing a fence. It does not attach itself to a fence, but rather twirls around different things. You usually have to give it like a pergola or a wire or something to climb if it's going to climb. It used to be called Confederate jasmine, but we've canceled that term, so it's star jasmine now. These are typically very hardy in our area, but in deep freezes, if you get sub 20 degrees, they will generally die back to the ground or at least have parts of their most exposed vines damaged. My in-laws have a wall in a breezeway that's very well protected, that's covered in this, gets great sunlight. This requires direct, like almost entirely full sunlight or just partially shaded. Um, but it gets great sunlight, but it's also protected from the elements, and it has a wall in it that's beautiful. Smells great, really thick. Client, they like built a wire up the side of the wall, and it's done really well there. One of my favorite plants if you can put it in a pretty protected area that gets lots of sun, which is kind of hard to find. But this picture right here is on a fence on the street, and it's done great there. This is a caterpillar, and I was really excited because I thought it was a monarch caterpillar, but then I started doing research, and it's not. It's like a black swallowtail caterpillar. I should actually know that, but I forgot real quick. Black swallowtail butterfly. This guy right here is what it would look like when it's grown up. This is a watercolor picture. I thought it was pretty. My kids love these things and like to pick them up. I tell them not to. Sorry, world. Um, but they are all over the place right now, and you can especially see caterpillars on parsley. This is actually a parsley plant in one of the neighbor's yards. Uh, but we're starting to see butterflies, and we're about to see a lot more of them. Um, this is bluebonnets, but specifically you can see these seed pods. I think I talked about them in a previous video. But what we're seeing is kind of the fading of bluebonnets right now. Some of the later blooming wildflowers are starting to really show out, but bluebonnets are starting to fade in color and like they're just not looking quite as good. And they're starting to put out their seeds like this. Now, what happens on these seeds, again, forgive me if I've explained this before, this is the ideal time to kind of harvest these, clip off these bean pods, or to wait for them to dry out a little bit more as they start to brown, woody, and start to blacken. What you can do is you can collect them, put them in a paper bag. Don't put them in a plastic bag because they'll mold, and let them dry out completely. And once they've dried out, you can break them open, and there's like six-ish seeds per pod, and then plant them in the fall if you want more bluebonnets. Now, what's really cool about these last little bit here is that these will actually twist and explode. Not very like a big explosion, but you can kind of hear it. And they'll throw the seeds a couple feet, and that's how they spread out the seed or the plants. Um, this is just a beautiful rose that was in a neighbor's yard. I think this is a drift rose. They grow lower, beautiful pink flowers, bloom a lot. Deadhead them, meaning remove the dead flower when they die, and you'll get more blooms. And then this is our final one. This is a prickly pear cactus. Cactuses stink because they're cactuses, but they are really resilient in this environment. Um, what I mean by them stinking is they poke you. But this flower is beautiful. These flowers actually only bloom for like one, maybe 2 days at a time, and then that's where the fruit of the prickly pear comes. The tuna is what it's called. The fruit is, which is hilarious. Not the fish, but the fruit is called the tuna. That's that purple pear, reddish purplish pear, and you can actually eat those. I have eaten them and succeeded in getting all sorts of prickles in my fingers and tongue. It's okay. It's not great. But this is a beautiful flower. You only see them for a couple days at a time. Um, they get bees in them. I think this one actually had a bee in it when I took this picture. You may not be able to see it there. And then they close down, and they only bloom on the newest pads, and then for a short time of the year. That's why I took a picture. So that is this week in landscaping. Hope you learned something and got some value out of it. Cheers.